Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have a feeling we're in danger of violently agreeing with one another. I don't think there's anybody on this side of the House who doesn't agree. We should be stamping out on abuses, and we heard from the government that they are beginning a consultation to look into whatever abuses there may be. But the responsibility of government, as we heard from the member for Mid-Norfolk, actually, I should have said I'm delighted to follow the lady from Wigan. As we heard from the member from Mid-Norfolk, it is the responsibility of government, and particularly given the mess that we inherited in 2010, to try and turn things around, to try and create growth, to try and create jobs. And as we heard from my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, even in Prime Minister's questions today, we've created over 1.5 million new jobs in the private sector, 1 million net new jobs. We had the IMF just last week turn around its criticism of the UK from a month before and saying, actually, compared to the rest of the world, the UK is doing pretty good. Growth is returning. This is all good news. This is creating jobs. Now, and again, I ask the question. I don't think anybody over there has said they actually oppose completely a 0 hours contracts. And the reason for that is because in an economy we need flexibility on both sides. And as we heard from the Secretary of State, the elderly, for example, they do want the flexibility. We've heard about young students who also want flexibility in employment. We've heard about young mothers who also want flexibility. They have childcare. They don't have natural fixed hours necessarily. So actually having zero contracts can suit a number of people in our economy, and it does just that. But what is important, and I do listen very hard what honourable members say opposite, is that there must be robust employment protections. And as we've heard from the Secretary of State, no doubt from the Minister of State in a minute, the government is beginning a consultation to look into the very practices members opposite have been alluding to. And I oppose those as strongly as they do. But, I have to say, the previous government, in fact, did nothing, and I repeat, nothing at all, to investigate how 0 hour contracts were used when they were in power. Is anybody aware of any investigation during their 13 years in power of this? In fact, you can go back to the year 2000, and according to the ONS, there were 225,000 people on 0 hour contracts. I'll give away the honourable gentleman.
Thank you, my honourable friend, for giving way. Has he also noticed that they raised blacklisting, about which also they did nothing whatsoever while they were in government?
Yes, I think my honourable gentleman is absolutely right, and I will point the finger here in London to 6 Labour-run councils who indeed use 0 hour contracts. The 6 are Tower Hamlets, Ealing Merton, Hounslow, Newham, and they in fact use 0 hour. They don't have any guarantees of hours or anything like that. Do I see Labour councils stop using 0 hour contracts? Not a bit of it, not a bit of it. But what this government has done is help the low paid. It has helped the low paid by taking over 2 million people out of tax altogether and cutting taxation for another 25 million. That is what the government should be doing. It should be encouraging jobs and protecting those on low pay. Now, as we've heard from many people, we've been doing a good job in this government trying to create jobs in the private sector, and we must, and I repeat, must protect the abuses that the members opposite are alluding to. We heard the wonderful statistics from my friend, the honourable member for Mid-Norfolk, again, when he talked the numbers on jobs created in the private sector and the net jobs created, which I repeat, again, the net jobs are still 1 million, even though the members opposite, as we heard in Prime Minister's questions, predicted 1 million job losses. So, again, I think we've been doing a good job. But I have to say, as someone who is a champion of women, as the founder of Women to Win, there are now more women in work today than ever before in our history, and that is a good thing. But as the member for Wigan has said, we must also protect the abuses of women who need these flexible hours. And again, I believe, and I have confidence in the government, that they will be looking into those abuses, because we do not want the abuses that the honourable lady from Wigan has alluded to. We do not approve of that. We do not support that. Now, There are job vacancies. Well, in fact, I think there are about 500,000 job vacancies. Some of these are zero-hour contracts. That is a good thing. That gives people the opportunity to get on the employment ladder. That can't be a good thing. So overall, Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe the government is doing a good job. The statistics there are coming out even in the past week alone. British manufacturers have said they've seen the strongest growth on record, breaking every quarter since 1989. Proving that the Chancellor has been rebalancing the economy. This is a challenge that we inherited from the last government. We over-relied on the financial services sector. The Chancellor is rebalancing the economy. Yes, I'll give way.
I'd like to congratulate the Honourable Gentleman on a fantastic and very dynamic speech. And does he agree with me that actually it is a dynamic and flexible workplace that we need as manufacturers to be able to flourish? Speaking as somebody who owns a manufacturing company, that's what manufacturers need. They need dynamic, flexible workplaces. And actually those who may not have been in employment before need a dynamic, flexible workplace in order to consider going back into the working world.
I think that my honourable friend is absolutely right. Particularly small manufacturers, who can't take on necessarily fixed costs. Someone who was in business for 20 years, I know this. It's tough out there, and it's still very tough out there for many manufacturers who are working on very low margins. They can't take on these fixed costs. So working on zero-hour contracts is a good thing. It suits them. And as I said, it does suit people in their environment who are looking for those flexible hours. But also we've seen in the services sector itself, we've had the strongest growth in 16 years. But overall, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I will try and wrap up now, zero-hour contracts do have their role in society. I haven't heard a single member opposite who has absolutely condemned zero-hour contracts. What they've all talked about is the abuses. And I have to say, the government is doing its bit to ensure that we remain ever vigilant on the abuses of zero-hour contracts, and I applaud the government's initiative to take forward its consultation to tackle these abuses as soon as they can. Thank you very much, Madam.